Alright, it's time. Planes 2. One of the worst films that I have ever seen in my life. Yep, it comes from this franchise, who would have guessed? And yes, the fact that this film comes from the Cars series is actually important, because our first problem here, like usual, is the film's tone. One of my bigger issues with the entire Cars, Trains, Planes franchise, in my opinion, has always been its tone. Cars 1 tried to tell this super serious story about a small town in America losing its relevance and succumbing to decay due to industrial development. You know, despite it being a kid's film involving talking cars. No matter what I think of Cars 1, it was a film that did want to be taken very seriously, and it took itself quite seriously. It's not like an Illumination picture, where the Lorax will definitely talk about environmentalism, but it really doesn't give a shit about the trees. Come to the theaters, because we got Taylor Swift in the film! Cars 1 was followed by Cars 2, which followed the comedic relief from the first film, and what amounts to a shitpost. Of all of the Pixar films, Cars 2 takes itself the least seriously. There were dramatic beats, and we were supposed to care about the story, but for the most part that film is spy shenanigans that don't make any sense. The plot is forced, and it stars a character that's hard to take seriously in any regard, especially after he's accused of pissing on the floor in Japan. Meanwhile, Cars 3 goes in the total opposite direction. It is so serious that they wanted you to think that Lightning McQueen was fucking dead in the trailer. That trailer alone is so over-the-top serious that in the end, it is the funniest thing that has ever come out of the entire Cars franchise. The film series poses the question in each and every single one of its installments: how serious should I be taking any of this? Which, spoiler alert, is not a question that a film should be posing. Usually, there are exceptions for art house stuff, but like, not an animated Pixar film. A lot of people don't seem to get my problem here, no matter how many times I bring it up. They specifically point out that I find all of this batshit ridiculous, and in fairness, they compare it to other films and other Pixar films. Because you could describe other Pixar films, other animated films, in equally ridiculous ways, because they generally have very fantastical premises. When you get down to it, what really is the difference between Cars and, say, Toy Story? Toy Story might be a bit of a cheat, though, since the characters look human, and one of the biggest problems to taking Cars seriously is how poorly the characters are anthropomorphized. Seriously, it's a car that looks like a car, I'm not going to empathize with it. Brave Little Toaster is a better point of comparison. It stars characters that also aren't very anthropomorphized, and have an even further amount of distance from the audience than the cars or the planes or the trains or the boats do. In that film, one of the main characters, Radio, doesn't even have a face. But I don't have a problem with taking that film as seriously as it wants me to, or caring about the characters there. Because Brave Little Toaster is fucking demented, and it never slows up, and it constantly showcases that, yes, these kind of characters can die at any point. Meanwhile, the Cars franchise can't seem to pick a lane.
A few moments later.
Well, it didn't used to be that way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. 40 years ago, that interstate down there didn't exist.
A few moments later.
Listen, if anybody asks you, we was out smashing mailboxes, okay?
Cars 1 is all about, we gotta care about this town and its small town charm, and its standard bearer is fucking Mater, who should probably be eaten by the scrapyard magnet. There's also the fact that you have to get over that in just about any other movie, what the characters actually are is not arbitrary. In Toy Story, there's a reason for the toys to be toys. It's integral to the plot. In Ratatouille, it is integral that the main character is a rat. In WALL-E, it is integral that the main character is a robot. There is virtually no reason for the cars to be cars except to sell toys. Like, the only legit reason I can think of for making characters vehicles inside the Cars films is to keep getting crap past the radar. Like all the wonton death in Cars 2, and all the weird jokes in Cars 1.
Hey, do I spy a little pinstriping tattoo back there?
Oh! That's just... Oh!
I guess you couldn't do that if the characters were humans. The first Planes film was a microcosm of this problem. As you can imagine, the writing got so much more juvenile in this spin-off. Planes 1 is a baby movie for babies. It doesn't care about anything, it takes nothing seriously, but at the same time, it wants to have this World War II flashback that gives this airfighter PTSD, and is the motivation for him claiming stolen valor. It is completely bonkers. And you know what? I'm starting off this review by giving Planes 2 credit where it's due. This is the only film in the entire franchise that actually communicates how seriously we're supposed to take it. And the answer here is we're supposed to take this very seriously. The movie starts out with a dedication directly to firefighters. The subtitle Fire and Rescue isn't edgy or arbitrary. The entire film is about firefighting, like in a super serious way. The characters are vehicles, but throughout the film, they establish things that actual firefighting vehicles do to fight fire in the woods. What the characters are, for once, is not arbitrary, and what follows is a film with a, for the most part, very serious tone. Whenever we're seeing the firefighting vehicles do their thing, as far as I can tell, it's treated accurately. Throughout the film, JJ the jet plane, whose real name is Dusty, is learning how to firefight, and is taught these techniques and how to successfully stop and control forest fires. There is a ton of technical specifics. So many technical specifics.
Time, wind speed and direction, temperature, relative humidity. Finally, all aircraft must be on the ground 30 minutes after sunset.
And as I'm watching this film, I'm like, you guys know this film was for 6-year-olds, right? Ones with not the best attention spans? The first film knew that. I don't think this one does. So, most kids do have this phase where they want to grow up to be a firefighter or a police officer or whatever, and that's obviously what this film is trying to tap into. And if firefighting is your kid's current special interest, it might connect. But if your kid isn't like super obsessed with firefighting, to the point where they're running around the live in a firefighter hat, dressing up as one every Halloween, and all of their toys are fire trucks, this movie's gonna bore them to fucking tears. And I know the counterpoint to this. It is always going to be a weird criticism coming from an adult about children's media. That the film is boring. Because it's like, yeah, no shit, the movie is not for you. It's not made to be interesting for you. But my god, I just gotta say it. Planes 2 is the most boring fucking film that I have seen in my entire life. And I watched a movie where Eddie Murphy danced in an empty apartment for 90 minutes to get stock tips from his daughter's imaginary friends. Trust me, don't watch that film, it is a lot less interesting than it sounds. And I feel confident in saying that this is an applicable criticism because Planes 2 is not just a baby movie for babies like the first one was. Planes 1 was also obscenely boring. But that wasn't a criticism that I levied at the movie because, like I said, it was a baby movie for babies and that's all it had ambitions to be. But Planes 2, Fire and Rescue is something a little bit more serious than that. As I said, it starts out with a dedication, and it wants to tell a very serious story. Like, so serious, at points, this movie feels like a PSA. During some clips of the movie, I'm halfway expecting to get a message of who I can call to stop the administration from cutting firefighting fees.
Dangerous work, but that's the job of a firefighter. Risking their lives for people they don't even know. They fly in when others are flying out.
This isn't Rescue Heroes is what I'm saying. So, let's talk about the nuclear bomb that I levied at the end of the last review. Planes 2 is the worst film that I have ever reviewed. And I reviewed Chicken Little, Shark Tale, fucking Lion King 2019. All of that. And you don't get to be the worst film that I've ever reviewed by being as boring as 12th grade Latin class. Being the most boring film that I've ever seen in my life is our starting point. It is our foundation. Because, believe it or not, despite this being the most boring film that I've seen in my life, this boring film didn't make me bored. Planes 2 made me angry. Like, legitimately angry. Now, believe it or not, I probably shouldn't be bringing up Shark Tale, Chicken Little, Lion King 2019, because that gives you the wrong idea of exactly what we're dealing with here. Because Planes 2 actually doesn't belong in that pile. It belongs in this pile. I'm gonna come right out swinging and say it. Planes 2 is offensive. Like, straight up, to the point where there should have been shame in its release. And if anyone in the audience actually is a firefighter, I can't imagine how much offense you'll be taking at how tone-deaf and broken this movie actually is. Like, if you do have a kid, I'll straight up and say it, do not let them watch this. This film is probably a bad influence. Clearly the angry critic man is just overreacting. I mean, what's the movie even about? Firefighting, right? How bad could that go? No, this movie is actually only partially about firefighting. In reality, under the hood, Planes 2 Fire and Rescue is a movie about dealing with disability. And oh boy, this can only go so well. Despite my job being to scream at movies, at least in reputation, I don't often get, like, worked up watching a film. I'll make jokes and rant and stuff, but like my friends will attest that I generally don't get like angry watching a film or show. I got angry watching this film. Planes 2 disgusted me. Like, it is a disgusting film. And yeah, comedy. We can't take films seriously. We can't take criticism seriously. It's Planes 2, Fire and Rescue. What's the next thing that brings your piss to a boil? Barney running to the rescue? Let's talk about the plot. As I said, Planes 2 is about disability. Dusty is trying to do his usual race training when something goes wrong, and his mechanic friend tells him that it's because he has a gearbox that's gone faulty. Which, you know, seems to be a quick fix. After all, they're all mechanical. Just get a gearbox that works. Easy replacement. Except...
Your gearbox, it's out of production. Long since discontinued.
They no longer make a gearbox that's unique to Dusty. This gearbox especially needs to be factory made and the factory done closed down. I went through this in the last review, but I do need to reiterate, the Cars universe is fucking horrifying. Like, could you even imagine? Right now, there's talk of scientists synthesizing organs and manufacturing, like, actual usable blood. Could you imagine, in the future, if they, like, had these things, and then they arbitrarily stopped making them? Why? I don't know, young people don't need them anymore, so we don't make them no more. Like every single movie in this franchise just lobbies you with another horrific concept. And this is even ignoring the minor tidbit that someone else with that specific part is gonna crash eventually. Just saying, organ donation is a thing. But it's like, no, sorry sweetie, we can't give you the prosthetic for your leg, because they just don't make them anymore. The catalyst of this plot is just, the implications it has are just fucked. And yes, I know the obvious counterpoint here. Considering the vaguely dystopian sense of the world now, it is actually a horrifying possibility of our own future that something like this could actually happen. That's not a defense of the movie, it's still horrifying, and it probably shouldn't be in a kid's film, just saying. The idea they're trying to get through is that they want this disability to at least seem permanent. There's no easy way for Dusty to get out of it. And because they wanted to make a movie with vehicles that can just be rebuilt, they had to force something into the plot, which means that they can't be rebuilt. Which, you know, works as well as jamming a wrench into the piston of your engine and trying to do the Indy 500. Planes 2 wants to have a story about a disability that cannot be recovered from. This is the story archetype that we're going for today. The racer cannot race anymore. And while there are hope spots within the film, it's made repeatedly clear that Dusty is never going to be racing again for the rest of his life. You know what else Dusty does instead? He tries to become a firefighter. Seriously.
What if, I became our second firefighter? You? Yeah. Fire!
This is the plot. Dusty is disabled, so he can't race anymore and decides that the next thing to do is to become a firefighter. He tries to go fast, and this accidentally starts a fire. And this basically gets the old firefighter fired. Dusty, to his credit, wants to fix what he broke. And the only way to do that is for someone else to get certified to be on the town's firefighting team. And for the old firefighter to get mechanically improved. He can do it for some reason, Dusty can't. And the only one who can get certified to be the other firefighter is Dusty. Why Dusty? Because he's the main character, obviously. I mean, there's no reason that Dusty can't be a firefighter, except for the literal fact that he literally cannot be a firefighter. This isn't me being whatever. This is literally stated within the movie.
I've got a race coming
You'll
up!
crash! You push yourself into the red, you'll crash.
One of the things that Dusty has to do to qualify for being a firefighter is to go a certain speed. Without doing so, he just cannot get certified. As a part of the test.
Why'd you pull power? You got a firewall. If you don't push it, you're not gonna make it, and you won't be certified.
Dusty can't go this speed, or else he'll crash. And die. If this movie was, I don't know, about humans, then maybe you could have some argument about the power of will or human spirit or whatever. But Dusty is a plane, and the problem he has is described very, very mechanically. Floor it, and you go down in flames. No exception. The F button puts the F on the screen. If Dusty goes above 60 miles per hour, he's gonna be on the next episode of America's Best Plane Crashes. But that's not gonna stop Dusty. No matter what, he's gonna be a firefighter, and there's nothing that can stop him. Not even this disability, because he's not gonna tell anybody about this disability. Seriously. So, for most of the movie, Dusty is trying to become this firefighter. And throughout the entire film, he does not tell anyone that he has a disability that prevents him from being a firefighter. He doesn't tell his peers on the team, he doesn't tell civilians, and he doesn't even tell his fucking commanding officer. On some level, I expected better from this plane who convinced a veteran that stolen valor was wrong. I'm sorry. It's not like Dusty never gets the opportunity either. The movie presents Dusty with so many chances to just say something, but he is constantly keeping this tiny little secret under his cockpit. Because the plot is super duper forced, Dusty is able to become a part of this team because it's poorly funded and there's bad upkeep, and I guess he gets lucky. And everyone else in the entire force gets very unlucky. Most of this movie is a training montage of Dusty learning how to be a firefighter, and being unable to actually do what it takes to be a firefighter. And in the climax of the film, where Dusty hasn't said a damn thing still, a huge fire breaks out. And the next part of the movie is just... Because Dusty is a piece of shit, determined to prove that he can do anything, he's determined to do anything. So, while there's a huge outbreak, Dusty, for fucking no reason, literally no reason, he continually disobeys direct orders from his superior.
I said split load. We were going to make a secondary line to protect that lodge.
It'll be fine. I can reload at the lake.
Negative.
No, there's no time. Let's just get this fire out.
Hey, you need to listen to me.
Be fine.
Maybe because he has a stupid fucking hero complex. All it really does is prove that not only can he not do this physically, he can't do this mentally either. It is so frustrating. And the best part of the movie is when Dusty finally does come clean. You know when Dusty does come clean and he finally tells his commanding officer that his gearbox don't work so well? When they're in the middle of the forest fire about to die. No, seriously, I reiterate, that is the plot.
We can't go in there. We'll suffocate.
It's our only chance. We'll let it burn over.
I'll find my way out.
Like you found your way out of the rapids.
I didn't want to...
You need to follow orders. I told you split load, you dropped it all. I told you not to reload on the lake, you did it anyway. Go win yourself another trophy, champ.
I can't! My gearbox is busted!
The singing killed my grandma, okay?
Dusty himself gets the problem worse and worse and worse. Because for the life of him, he cannot fucking obey orders, and he never should have been in this place to begin with. This is different than people saying, you can't fly on the race, and Dusty flying on the race anyway. Because the movie doesn't seem to understand this. The two of them go down in the middle of the forest fire, and it looks like they're gonna die, and the only thing they could do is go into a mine shaft, and even then, it's only a maybe if they'll survive, because I guess planes have lungs now. The commanding officer is getting burned by the fires, by the way. Does Dusty finally say that his gearbox doesn't work? This is after an entire movie of Dusty nearly getting himself and others killed. It's not even an exaggeration, that is literally the plot of the movie. And the movie isn't written well enough to give him, like, proper motivation. So it feels like he's doing all of this shit just because. Why does it have to be Dusty doing this? Because he's the main character. Plain and simple. I get this plot on some level. It's something close to what a Cars film would do. You know, you have the movie about the guy who wants to win the race, but gets into an accident and is unable to use his legs, but still wants to win the race, so he competes in the race. It's cliche, but some people find it inspiring. The worst those films tend to get is patronizing, though. You know how most of those films aren't about saving lives? And of course, like, why are you taking this film so seriously? I'm taking this film so seriously because this movie takes itself so fucking seriously. Like I said, it legitimately feels like a PSA at times. While you have Dusty doing all of this, like, the other half of the movie is, like, showing how great and important firefighters is. And it gives it all this weird, super serious tone that makes what Dusty is doing look so self-serving, and honestly, quite frankly, demented. It is batshit. I don't even need to have a metaphor here. This movie is someone coming down with asthma, trying to be a firefighter, not telling anyone else on the team that they have asthma, repeatedly nearly getting everyone killed. Well, the movie is also going on about how great and important firefighters are, because if the characters weren't planes, that is what this movie would be about. Speaking as someone with disabilities, there are some things that are simply harder to do. I'll use a personal example. OCD makes it actually a lot harder for me to be a content creator, because my specific brand of it makes me dwell on all my stupid little mistakes that really don't matter. And if I was working in another field, they wouldn't matter at all. But they do matter to the trolls and the A-logs out there, so I'm forced to repeatedly address them, making the problem worse. It's just one little thing of how OCD makes my job harder. It does make my job harder, but it doesn't make my job impossible. And even if you argue that I should be in a different career, if I do screw up, in the end, I'm the only one who gets hurt by my own disability. Like, whatever happens here, it generally speaking only affects me. So it can be my choice to do the harder job. But sometimes you can have a disability, which means there's some area you really should not be at. Sometimes having a disability means that a door is closed to you completely. No argument, no debate. The film itself even showcases that. Firefighting specifically is one of those doors. Firefighting has rigorous physical standards and tests that some people legitimately cannot bypass. And while it can suck for some people, it's not a bad thing, because those tests and standards prevent people from dying. And I suppose if you're desperate, you can have this really demented argument that this movie is demented in itself, and it just wanted to show why these standards are here in the first place. Like, we can have this movie about how Dusty does all the bad things and gets consequences in blazing hellfire, but like, here's what really ticks me off about this film. Virtually no one has a problem with Dusty doing any of this shit.
Do you think he's gonna be...
Look, Dusty, don't blame yourself.
Seriously. He gets certified. Yeah, the commanding officer who nearly died, who got burned, scarred because of Dusty's action.
Crop Hopper, I'd say you've earned that certification. This isn't about you. This is about life and death. You need to follow orders. I told you split load, you dropped it all. I told you not to reload on the leg, you did it anyway. I told you redline it, you pulled power. You don't have what it takes. Crop Hopper, I'd say you've earned that certification.
In the arms of the angel from here, and the endlessness that
Dusty, don't blame yourself. Fuck you! Seriously! Dusty gets super certified and everything, and this story is happy end. And then Dusty even gets his gearbox fixed because we gotta make the ending super extra happy. Okay, what?
You're welcome.
What?
'Cause you're fixed.
Wait, really?
That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Got yourself a custom-made epicyclic concentric reduction gearbox.
Are you beginning to see why this movie pisses in my piston? You cannot just tell the audience that a character is disabled for life, probably, and then magically fix it at the end of the movie. That's not a kosher thing to do! Maybe it's because this movie was written in 2014, but like, this is a very politically incorrect ending, let's just say. It'd be one thing if they stated that there was a possibility of Dusty getting better, but no, throughout the movie, they bring up these possibilities and they just continually shut them down, making it more and more unlikely that Dusty is ever going to get fixed. Some people do find it very offensive that an ending of a film that has a disabled character magically get fixed. And quite honestly, especially in cases like this, I don't blame them. Because while disabled, literally the only thing Dusty ever did was nearly get a bunch of people killed. I guess that won't happen anymore. I'm being very colorful and over the top, but I am not exaggerating. I'm not using metaphors and I'm not overstating things. This is the plot of the film. This is what the movie is about. You can go read the transcript, the Wikipedia article, see for yourself. Like, it is the kind of movie where it's not just lazy. I can understand lazy, I can excuse lazy, we can all just mock and have fun with the lazy piece of shit movie that no one cared about. But then you have movies like this that try to say something, and what they're saying is the most incompetent, broken shit. You have to wonder why no one in their right mind just said, no, this is going to get us tons of backlash. And honestly, even though this movie came out in 2014, I'm surprised that people didn't treat this as offensive when it came out. I don't know if I could say it's like the most offensive thing that Disney has ever produced, considering their track record. Like, Mulan 2020 probably still takes the cake. But I'd eat my arm if this isn't in the top 10. It does have my favorite Disney villain, though. You know what the villain's motivation is? This is Lodge. This is a lodge out in the woods. This is motivation. The villain of the movie is going to let everyone, including, like, stated, actually government state officials, die in Dusty's blaze of incompetence because of Lodge. You see, the car was born in a lodge in Illinois and was raised on the wooden walls and the forest scenery. Every day he'd wake up in Lodge, and when he was finally old enough, he popped the question so he could marry Lodge. He wanted to have Lodge forever. Dodge and Lodge, perfect couple. And because he loves Lodge so much, he's willing to let just everyone die. To the point where he's stealing water from firefighters. Because he loves Lodge so much. While the movie is animated better than Planes 1, the new character design is abysmal, especially this character here. It also doesn't help that her entire purpose is to sexually harass Dusty.
I like watching you sleep.
That is literally just her character. Because, haha, reverse roles, I guess, it was 2014. The other guy on the team is a token Native American stereotype. Sure, why not? And another reason that it's hard to call this a baby movie for babies like the first Planes film is because of the humor. I mean, the first joke of the film is a got gas joke.
That's correct. I've got gas.
But the second joke of the film is a firefighter showing Dusty his ass. And all the characters that gotta get at honkers.
Yeah, they're real.
What the fuck is with the jokes in this movie? They're just constantly like this. But the best joke in the entire film, the best joke of all time, Howard the Truck. Howard the Truck on VHS. The longer that I look at this, the worse it gets. This might actually be a worse joke than Backwards Sandwich from Lightyear. So, this is a parody of Howard the Duck, a terrible movie from the 1970s or 80s or whatever by George Lucas. As you might imagine, it was about a duck. There is an egg on the cover of the DVD. Ducks lay eggs, hence there being a reason to be on the egg and the poster and the box of Howard the Duck. As far as I'm aware, trucks do not lay eggs. You know, as far as I'm aware. So why is there an egg on the cover of Howard the Truck? So Howard the Duck was called as such because he was an anthropomorphic duck. Something that at least stands out a little bit. Trucks, on the other hand, these characters, they see trucks on their daily basis. Like, they go and eat at honkers, they do work. We see trucks every single day. Titling a film Howard the Truck in the Cars universe would be like naming a film Howard the French Guy in our universe and just having it be about a French guy. And of course, the VHS is wide bed edition. Yes, trucks have beds. Do they watch films on beds in the car universe? Or do they still watch things on screens? The first film had characters using an iPad somehow, so I'm pretty sure they still use screens in this universe. There is only one reason I could think to name a film Wide Bed Edition, and I'm guessing they show it at honkers. And of course, Howard the Truck was made by George Lexus. And you know, there's a funny anecdote that I know about Planes 2. George Lucas actually saw this film, and the second they got to Howard the Truck, George Lucas became so ashamed of everything that he had done in his life, so ashamed that everything that he'd ever created. So in that second, he just decided to give up creativity and sell all of his stuff. He specifically went out to Disney because they made the film, and he knew that Disney would know how to perfectly destroy his mountain of failure, much better than anyone else ever could have. So what I'm saying is that I blame Planes 2 for Indiana Jones 5. Oh, by the way, Disney now owns the rights to Howard the Duck on VHS. Both the original and the wide-bed edition, and we're all fucked. Also, this movie is a plane wreck. Don't watch it. If you have a copy, set it on fire, please. The world would be better if this never existed.